What's up, everybody? You know what time it is. It's 7 o'clock Houston, Texas time, and it's time for the Daily Smoke. I'm Brother Los.
Brother Jam.
Brother Ron.
Brother Blackhand. Brother Blackhand back down the can. And thank you also for joining us like every other Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday at 7 o'clock. That's what we want. We want y'all to join us there. But anyways, thank y'all so much for joining us. Right. 5 days a week.
And Sunday. We got
and Sunday, check us out on www.banging832 radio, banging832.com. And it's banging832 radio. Once you get there, under the digital podcast, you'll find us there. And you'll find an episode of Daily Smoke Live there. So check us out there. Give the brothers, a chance to grow their business as we grow ours. So what's up, guys?
Chilling, man. What's happening with y'all?
Wednesday, summer finally here, but it's felt like it's been here for like 4 months already.
Right.
It's a little bit hot, and then it's really hot. And you got to figure out the times of the year that it is. Right now, we've been in the really hot. Then it'll get to it. It's okay hot. And beginning of the year is like, it's a little bit hot.
Right.
It's like last year.
The guy I talked to at work, I think it was yesterday, he said it's hell degrees outside.
Right?
I was like, what?
Right.
I was like, yes, that sums it up perfectly. It's hell degrees outside.
Houston, Texas, on the equator.
You look at the damn thermostat and it just say HE double hockey sticks.
Right.
It's crazy.
It is been crazy hot.
Man.
I don't know about y'all, man, but I've been looking forward to today for quite some months now, We got the infamous Dr. O with us today. She's going to be hanging out with us, covering some controversial subject matter. I cannot wait.
Oh, yeah. I've been looking forward to it. This should be an enlightening conversation for sure.
Absolutely. I'm going to shut up a lot, I just want to listen and learn.
I love how he always say that.
Right. You know what? Hey, I bow in the face of superior intelligence. I just bow in the face of superior intelligence,
Like I say, but I got 8 pages here just in case.
You ain't prepared.
You're telling me
my homework.
You're one of the smartest people I know in this same minute, bro.
Who, me? No.
She's way smarter than me. I'm like,
no.
What we
Did
gonna
y'all see her resume?
That's what I'm saying.
Scroll.
Very
nice. God.
So yeah, we've been looking forward.
Trust me.
Something that we can't wait. We've been waiting for this episode.
Wait.
It was one of those where you say, "Yeah, that Dr. Owen coming out." For real?
Yeah.
Come on our show?
Right?
Yeah, man.
He watches our show?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
I know.
You never know who's watching, y'all.
That's right.
You never know who's watching.
That's right.
So, like I said, we try to bring y'all the best possible content
right.
that we can. We put a lot of work and a lot of effort and a lot of thought and a lot of time into bringing this show out. So we appreciate it when y'all give us that feedback, when y'all let us know, hey, when we're doing something right, and if we're doing something wrong, let us know that too. We appreciate it coming both ways, because ultimately it's just going to make us better, and that's what we strive to do.
That's right.
We want to keep this the people's podcast.
That's right.
And the way you start that is like. Hit that like button. That's the very beginning
That's exactly right.
Rolling with us. And then from there, hey, www.dailysmoke.com is our website where you find out anything and everything about us. And again, if you want to help other than the like, $, TD Smoke, Cash App, and all donations are welcome so that we can continue bringing you this great content that we're trying. It's all about you, don't forget.
Absolutely. And feel free to comment. Thank you so much, Captain Howdy. Budget Deals. Captain Howdy, thank you so much. That's our old friend from GT5 and 6. Yeah, man. Thank you so much for watching and supporting us, brother. You're in for a treat tonight. So it's going to be a really good show, I promise you, man. I promise you.
And we hope that you call in. Y'all can call in.
Yes.
Comment, please. We want to get your reaction on this and what your opinions are about it. We're getting ready to find out ourselves. We're all going to get educated in the day.
Yes, we are.
Let's see if you can. If you think she's full of shit, say it.
Tell her. Be ready to back that shit up, though.
Make sure you know what the hell you're talking about.
Be ready to back that shit up.
Look, someone asking the questions, you better be making statements.
Hey, you know what I mean? Like, come humble.
Right.
Please.
Say it with your chest.
Man, you know what? I gotta ask y'all something, man. Like, I will not lie. I didn't bother to open or read it, but you all sent a link about someone who was involved in a car accident.
Yeah.
Tell me about that, man.
That is our future guest.
What?
That was from, and of course now that we're on camera, I'm drawing a blank on the woman's name.
Girl with the book.
Yeah,
One of the two.
that was the woman in there was Keisha.
What?
Not her sister. The other one's her sister, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, Fallon.
Keisha and
Oh,
Fallon.
whereas Keisha and Tamia, I guess they're sisters.
Okay.
Or it's Fallon and Tamia, because Tamia's one of the sisters.
Okay. Yeah,
Makes
right.
sense.
Right.
But the two ladies, Fallon and Keisha, they host their own podcast, and they're going to be on our show.
One of them was
That was one of them.
Yes.
with the jaw thing and all that. Cutting out a car.
Tell us what happened, man.
From what I could see on the video, and mind you, I say this because I was at work and I didn't get to watch the entire thing, but from what I could understand, she was telling the story because the news program that they were on was talking about faith and, I guess people talking about things that have happened that were miraculous in their life. And she was telling the story about how her son was involved in this horrible car accident where they were declaring him like dead from jump. They was just like, no, he's gone. She said her and her family started praying about it, and as they were doing that, she got up and ran to her son, started holding his hand, and his hand moved.
What?
Then she called the doctors in and said, doctors, no, come check him out. And foot moved, and apparently he was back.
Right.
So they was like, well, we don't even know if he's gonna make it. She was like, no, he's gonna make it. And family kept, stayed with him, prayed for him, doing all of this kind of stuff, and eventually got to the point where now he's back to normal.
What was on,
Really?
I mean, for the most part, yeah.
Talking to the Melissa lady.
Yeah, on Fox
Yeah.
News.
Yeah, I remember watching that.
Yeah.
that's exactly
She sent
what-
another link.
That's
I didn't
her,
get a chance
the
to
lady
send
that
it.
was
Yeah,
in the video?
yeah.
That's who's going to be on the
That's
show.
who's gonna be on our show.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So there you go.
Wow.
We got some powerful people on
Well, I mean,
on this platform.
we got a doctor here today. We have a resurrector here tomorrow. We got all bases covered. We got all bases covered, man.
We can bring him back from the dead and heal and
You know what I mean?
got him brought back.
Hey, don't worry. If she don't take care of you, she will.
We got you covered.
Oh my Lord.
That's
Man,
That's
I'm trying to tell you.
amazing.
The reason I was saying it one because I saw one where somebody would get cut out of a car just recently somewhere on the news. I saw was crashed and showed Jaws of Life. And when you said that, I'm like, what? She was in that car?
Oh no
That's
no
what I
no
thought
no,
I
no,
heard. But
no.
when you started talking about the interview that I saw with that Fox, I had watched that earlier today. And I was watching. I'm like, wow, that's something else.
It's crazy.
Wow.
It's a crazy story, man. That's a crazy story. I can't even imagine as a parent.
I know.
Ooh. And I
Yeah,
think she said,
I know.
if I remember right, I think she said he was either 15 or 16 at the time, so he was young.
Wow.
That to be that young and that close to death at that point. Oh,
That's what she kept saying. We still need you. You can't leave.
right.
We still need you. Something like that. Yeah, I mean, I'm not the religious of all, but if I was to do something like that, I'm in church every day.
Yeah.
Every day. I like candles, like whatever you want. But you said, kid, this must be real. I'm going with you there.
Wow. I know you don't know all the details, but he was actually pronounced dead.
Yeah. The doctor said
Whoa.
there's nothing we can do. We're
Right.
done.
The doctors had called it.
Surgery. There was some surgery that he needed, but they said it's not going to do nothing. So that's when she went and did the praying stuff. Came back, she felt the move, and they did the surgery. But they were already saying, back them up, let's go.
Man,
Yeah, that's crazy.
I would like to interview him. Like, did you see a light? Like, no,
But
really,
he was
for real.
I mean,
Like, he crossed over. Like,
as far as the doctor, our way of saying
Yeah.
you're dead, that's what they said. He was dead. So, done. So, yeah, that would be something to talk about.
Wow, I would love to interview him, man.
Well, hey, we got close connection.
Yeah.
Depending on who's all ready for that. Whatever
Yeah.
you're ready.
When I was in grad school, we had learned there was like two different types of death, and I'm going off of like 15 years information a long time ago. But what they were doing was to determine if an individual was a candidate for a organ transplant or something. You had to be determined either cardiac death or brainstem death, and it was two different criteria, or what have you,
Right.
But I've always wondered, individuals whether you considered brainstem death or cardiac death, the experience that you had if you come back. What did you see? What did you experience? That kind of stuff. I've always wanted to know that. I've always wanted to know that.
That's the mystery of human existence. if we could ever get the definitive answer on that, because I mean, you hear people tell these stories, but I saw like oxygen deprivation affects the brain.
Mm-hmm.
It's the symptoms the things that they're describing are like symptoms of what could be happening in your brain because you're not getting enough oxygen.
Right.
So it's like we don't have. I don't know if we'll ever find out what happens after death until you die.
Didn't you say it was like the most peaceful?
Dude, when I almost died, it was the most peaceful sleep I ever had.
That's all you remember.
I was literally, this is true. It happened on a Saturday, I believe, because I was in Atlanta and I had been doing a whole lot of drinking that Friday and Saturday, so I just thought I was having a real bad hangover. So I kept throwing up, couldn't hold, anything down, and that Sunday, it was still going on. I still had a lot of pain throwing up. Like, damn, man, I gotta stop drinking. So I got on the airplane and then went from Atlanta Hospital. We landed at Intercontinental. I'll never forget this. It was on Sunday. I was walking towards baggage claim, and one of the security guard ladies looked at me and said, "Sir, are you okay?" I said, "Yeah, I'm just having a bad hangover." And so she was just looking at me really weird.
Real pale.
I looked real pale. That Monday, I went to work. I was working on the ACT team at that time, and I remember the nurse at that time. We had this long table, and I'm sitting there, and the nurse that was on our team was just looking at me. And I was like, and I won't say her name, but I was like, "Hey, I just having a bad hangover. I'll be okay." Because we was a bit rowdy back then. I just had a bad hangover. She just still looking at me like, "You okay?" Like, "Yeah, I'll be all right." Tuesday hit. Man, I woke up. And I was still throwing up. And I was like, you know what? I need to set me a doctor's appointment. So I called in to work. I set the appointment for later that afternoon. I laid back down, went to sleep. And when I woke up, the pain was gone. I started not to go to the doctor. This is the God's truth. I started not to go to the doctor. I went to the doctor, and she said, I told her what the symptoms were. She says, "Where did it hurt?" And it's real weak. And I took my hand and held it to my right side. She told me something like, "Tell them John Wayne," or something like that when you go into the ER. I'm like, why would you have to do that? Okay, cool. So that's what I did. I showed up, and I went to the front desk in the ER. I said, "John Wayne." And so this other nurse came out, took my blood pressure, and my blood pressure was 80 over 50. And she said, "You are the palest black man I've ever seen in my life." I'm like, "I'm all right." She was like,
the life was just
leaving me, And then finally, man, they had me. I was in ICU for about a good 24 hours or something like that before they could do the surgery. But I don't know what happened. But I went out, and I just remember walking through a field, man. It was like number of flowers around me, and the sky was real pretty. I was so calm. And when I woke up, I was coming off the operating table. And it was like, "You're doing good. We got the appendix out and all that kind of stuff."
Yeah.
My mom was sitting there looking at me. This is true. Because it was on her birthday. "Nigga, you almost died. What's wrong with you?" "You almost died on my birthday. What's wrong with you?" And I promise, "Mama, it's okay. I'm all right. I'm relaxed. They took care of me." And then she went, "You high."
Yeah,
I didn't put a cocktail in it. Oh, yeah, man, the rest is history. But yeah, man, that's how it went down. Man.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, but almost that's my brush with that.
Right, he was in the Elysian fields.
I was in the Elysian field. That's exactly what it was like. Exactly. So,
Doctor had to bring the black back in.
Exactly.
Right.
Thank God for
Bring it
doctors. Thank God for doctors.
That's crazy.
But like, did you really want to come back?
I was in a good place, man. I'm not afraid. Now, how I go is different, but I'm not afraid anymore, man. Just because of that experience, I'm really not. Yeah, man.
But all right, y'all. We're not gonna waste any more time. We'd like to bring on our guest.
Yes.
We're gonna get into all her titles and letters and everything as she comes and joins us. But just suffice to say, thank you for joining us, Dr. Austin.
Yes, Dr. Oh, what to the work did.
Thanks.
Oh.
Here we go.
Yes, indeed. MD, the FAPA, the FAAS.
Woo! That's what I'm saying. I know what the MD is, but what's the 5 by the
Fellow of the American Psychiatric Association and Fellow of the American Academy of Forensic Science.
Woo, smart people, man. Smart people, man. Dr. O, thank you so much for coming.
Oh, I'm so glad to be here.
Thank you so much. How you been doing?
Well, other than this summer cold, I've been doing fine.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah,
Yes,
I'm sorry if I get to coughing too much. Just, give me a minute to catch my breath.
No problem.
with me.
Your only thing. Oh, the Nessapola says, "Hey, Dr. O." So this is the only deal. Like, I know you say you're coming off a cold, but if we get sick, you gotta write a script. Fair enough.
I don't do that for family anymore.
She said anymore.
Anymore. The good stuff.
Right?
The good stuff. But Dr. O, tonight we were going to discuss a topic I believe that you wanted us to focus on. Absolutely right. Want us to focus on was uncovering the phenomenon of suicide by cop. And I believe Jonathan wanted to introduce a video that we're going to watch, a short video. And you want to tell us more about that before we get started?
Yeah, this is actually in a video that we wanted you to check out now. It's a little long, and I will give you a trigger warning. It is a gentleman who is in the process of doing exactly what we're talking about tonight, trying to commit suicide by cop. Now, there's no violence in the video. You don't see anything, a few minutes, let y'all see what we're talking about. And then we'll come back and we'll discuss it on the back.
It is intense, okay, everyone? So, and it's very necessary because that's going to be the context we're going to set the conversation in, all right? So, if there are any kids around, please, you may not want them to watch this because it will be kind of intense, okay? All right, go ahead, Bob.
No, have somebody come get my son. He in the house with me. No. Yes. Hey, y'all, I just want to say I'm sorry. This is going to be the last day everybody hear from me, bro. This is going to be the last day y'all hear from me, bro. I'm sorry. There's just been too much going on. Police out here. She did. Police right there. Somebody come get my son first. This not finna end well for nobody, cuz. Yeah, so I've been dealing with a lot to trying to... Ain't nothing finna justify my actions, bro. I've been dealing with a lot. I just need somebody to get my son. Sorry, y'all. I'm just ready to die, bro. Just ready to get this shit over with. I'm already shooting at the police and shit and everything, bro. It's over with. It's over with. It's over with. That's a whole body right there, bro. I'm not the right person, bro. Me mentally, like, I've been through too much. Just come get my son first. Yeah, because y'all, nothing. Y'all finna have to kill me, bro. Because I'm going to shoot at y'all, so y'all might as well finish. I'm not finna shoot right now. Come get my son first. Matter of fact, just wait until his parents come. Y'all finna have to kill me. I'm not killing myself, bro. Because I'm ready to go. We done talking. Didn't I just shoot at you? We done talking. Straight up. Just come get my son, bro. That's it. Everything after this, we can just get it cracking. Straight up. I've been getting played with mentally, all type of shit, bro. I'm not straight, bro. I'm not crazy, but it's a lot of shit I can't take, bro. Hold on. telling motherfuckers I've been dealing with shit. This attention to everybody, bro. If you have a nigga around you or anything like that, bro, be mindful of what these niggas be going through, bro. Don't nobody like to be mindful of that shit, then be playing games with a motherfucker, bro. So, bro, it's already over with. Police all through this bitch. I ain't killing myself though. That shit over with. Alright, come on now. Yo. So, like I said, I'm sorry, bro. I be trying, but shit just don't be good enough. This was my outfit that I wanted to get buried in. Nice little jacket. I know he do, but he got good grandparents. Yo, y'all, Egypt, huh? Shit. Yeah, baby. Egypt, here. Come here. Egypt. Here, man. Come on. Egypt. Come here. Watch your show. Okay? Here. Watch your show. Here. Here, Egypt. Get you some food, huh? Lord, I know you had me so many times. I know you had me so many times, and I'm sorry I couldn't. I'm sorry. I know you give your strongest battles to your strongest angels. I failed you and everybody else. Please continue to watch over my son as he live his life. And I pray best for his mama and her family. In Jesus' name, I pray, amen. Please forgive me. Bruh. I told niggas, bro. I'm not scaring y'all. Hey, I'm finna end this video, but Sean, any money you owe me, bro, give it to her parents. Any money you owe me, give it to her parents, and always check up on my son, bro. Stay in contact with her. I love everybody. I'm sorry, bro, but I'm telling you, that mental health shit is just, it's something else, bro. And I love everybody, bro. I love everybody that love me, bro. I'm not answering no phone. Hey, I'm in apartment 214. I'm finna kill myself. Just come get my son. Niggas gonna think this over a bitch. It's not, bro. It's not. I never gave no fuck about none of that shit, bro. I had bitches fucking with me a long time ago. It's not. It's not.
And was he saved at the end, or did he?
No, he ended up in a shootout with the police officers, and
And
he lost his
killed.
life.
Damn. Yeah. The stats are that over the last 5 years or so, or actually since about 2015, there's 1,000 shootings by police officers each year that we know of. The Washington Post has been keeping a running tally. And if you know of one that's not on their list, let them know. And of those, at least, they figure at least 10 to 29% are suicide by cop. And so it's actually a very tragic and yet not unusual thing to have happen. What's wonderful in this situation with this man was that he didn't kill his child.
Right.
Because having killed his mom already, a lot of people would have thought, well, nobody's going to take care of my kid like I would, so I've got to kill him also. And thank God it sounds like.
Absolutely.
So thank God the son survived, and hopefully he will be young enough, because he looked like he was less than 2, to not really remember it.
Yeah.
But it's a horrible phenomenon, and it's horrible for the person who dies or who's trying to die. It's horrible for the responding people, the cops, because there's always the feeling that I killed this person really, and it's
They get burdened with the guilt of having to take the life.
absolutely. Absolutely.
I had read somewhere that it wasn't until 2019 that the police department started to implement something to try to help cops deal with those situations. They spoke about how there's two categories of it. There's one where it's criminal, one for the police. I don't want to kill myself. I'm not trying to kill. So I'm going to do what I got to do. And then they said the second one is goes more contemplated suicide. That figure out somebody else.
Yeah. Yeah. And then there's ones that plan it out, like this young man did, with having his clothes ready for his funeral and stuff. And then there's others who may do it more spontaneously, where they're in the middle of a lot of emotional turmoil, and they may just end up, lunging for the police or looking as though they're reaching for a weapon, which you find out is really a cell phone or something like that. And it was really sad. And August 9th, 2014 was when Michael Brown died in Ferguson, Missouri. And that one, I read through about half of the grand jury testimony because I couldn't get through any more of it. It was just pretty intense. But in that one, some of the witnesses, of course, had the hands up, don't shoot, but that wasn't really borne out. That was some of the people saying that were people where they were standing, they couldn't have actually seen or heard that.
Okay.
And they didn't really get any evidence of that.
Okay.
And he did not, on the autopsy, have any wounds in his back at all, because there were people saying that he was running and they shot him.
Okay.
But with Mr. Brown, and he was only 18, he was getting ready 2 days later to start. Eric seemed like he, at one point, when he got away from the officer and sort of backed up a bit, he sort of raised his hands a bit, but then he just gritted his, made fist and put his head down and just did like as fast as he could. And what ended up killing him was, so I don't know if that's ever been considered as a suicide by cop, but if that was the part that made me think maybe at that particular time, I don't know, I don't have enough information about his life or background or anything, any kind of losses he might have been experiencing, but it was just so tragic because it had such terrible repercussions on the whole community and on the whole country.
But it's a coincidence you bring that up. Because in my research, I found that just 4 miles away from where he got shot, this other gentleman, Tommy Powell, being have him come. It's our video that comes out saying, shoot me now, motherfucker. As he got closer, going to the 3 or 4 feet away, that's when the car shot. The article I got that from was on the slate. It's Josh. Called suicide cop. Dangerous term that stops us from asking hard questions about what we shoot. And they say in this case, they didn't have to kill him. He had a knife in his hand. They waited until he got shot. Which some people say, hey, the video shows it most. But he's saying that, they could have stopped him. They could have not killed him. They could have maybe stopped him a different way. He was talking about that's where it's important to get these officers trained. They had a steak knife. And when we got 3 feet, they shot us.
Yeah, and that's when, if they could have been backing up and getting away and keeping a big perimeter around him, that would have been great. Sometimes that would be possible, sometimes it wouldn't. It's just, and these incidents happen so rapidly.
Right.
And there's so many hormones just going crazy with the fear and the revved up stuff that it's where the entire episode with Michael Brown supposedly lasted less than 2 minutes.
Wow.
The entire thing from when he struggled with the police officer there in the car and then ran and then charged back.
Right.
2 minutes. I mean, that's, and
that's not a lot of time to decide a life,
Yeah. If you can keep a perimeter, far enough to be safe from whatever weapon they have, then that could be helpful. Because there was a study by it was the International Association of Chiefs of Police in 2019, like you said, or maybe it was 2020. I think 2019, because it's right before the pandemic. They have a thing called excuse me, Federation of Executive Research for the Police, or something like that, FERP, but I can't remember quite what it stands for. But they did put out a paper that year, sort of explaining what the best practices were with trying to have as much information as possible. Whoever's responding knows that might be going on.
Right.
And if possible, have the person calling in, particularly if they know the person they're calling about, be able to give the police information of history or losses or, things to not say, or things that might be positive for helping somebody want to live.
Right.
But it's still, it's a horrible situation. As the studies are that each person that dies by suicide, whether it's regular suicide or suicide by cop, there's about 7 people who are significantly impacted by that. And, it's not just a short-term injury, it's not just a short-term thing. It can end up 7 people.
It's technical difficulties. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
The joys of live TV.
It can end up, impacting that person for years and years. There was one really tragic case. I met a young man in Harris County Jail years ago, and he had actually, he and I think his little sister were, their parents were in college over in Louisiana, and the father came on campus and murdered their mom, had the kids with him, murdered their mom, and then killed himself right there in front of the children. And so this young man grew up knowing that, he'd lost his parents and that one of them was the killer. And it's just, and suicide, there's so much bad feelings, because the person you may care the most about, the one that's died, is the killer.
Right.
So there's a lot of anger and everything too.
Right.
why the hell did you do that?
Right.
You know, and it's a horrible phenomenon.
Dr. O, I was studying specifically a suicide by cop issue, and two things that stood out. One is they're having so many of these situations to absolve themselves of responsibility. A lot of cops aren't answering or taking the call.
Oh wow.
That's problem number one.
Mm.
Problem number two, there was a gentleman that did research on this phenomenon, and I'm sorry I don't have his name, but it's called the integrated motivational volitional theory. And the way that he explains suicide by cop is you have a pre-motivational phase, a motivational phase, and a volitional stage.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, long story short, the pre-motivational stage is this: hey man, you don't have a desire to hurt yourself, kill yourself, but you have financial problems, legal issues, divorce, or what have you. The motivational phase begins when you start having the ideations of wanting to kill yourself, right? And at that phase, that's when you start texting other people or leaving voicemails for other people saying, hey man, I think I want to kill myself. Then they have the third stage, and I promise I'm going somewhere with this. You have the third stage, which is the volitional stage or phase. And the suicide plan is underway, and death may be imminent. Now, here's the interesting part. The motivational stage is the stage that most cops walk into. They have the ideations, but no real plan. But once cops are actually there and trying to deal with it, then that's when it moves to the volitional stage where they refuse to talk to the cops. They make no demands. They present no terms. They're asking to be killed. They're advancing on the police. They're reaching for or appear to be reaching for a weapon. And what broke my heart was they said the intervention technique of showing compassion, offering help, giving reasons to live may have little effect.
Yeah.
That's what got me.
Yeah, it's really sad. When you get to a certain point, you may not be able to stop it at all. There was a very powerful play, and probably 30 years ago at the Alley Theater downtown, called Night Mother. And it was two actresses. One was the mother and one was the middle-aged daughter. And they were at home alone one night, and the daughter walks in and explains to the mother that she's going to kill herself that night, and there's nothing the mom can do about it. She's going to do it at midnight or whatever. And she just is, the mother is doing everything she can, and she says, you know, if you try to get somebody here to help me or you get away or anything, I'll do it right then. And it's just the most, and there's no intermission in the play at all. So the tension just builds and builds and builds, and it's just it's a difficult, tragic, because you end up with the daughter exits the stage, and the mother's just there banging on the door, hanging on the door, and you hear a gunshot.
Wow.
And so, you know, it may not be possible to stop all suicides, but it's a very worthwhile, you know, goal.
Absolutely.
The guy who's head of who's the medical director for the Henry Ford medical plan up in Detroit, had set a goal of 0 suicides for all of his covered, you know, lives. And everybody's going like, that's crazy, you know. I mean, we usually have like 12 a year or something, and now you want to go to 0? I mean, that. And he's like, well, you know, what do you want us to say? Is 6 okay? Is you know, is 3 okay? You know, he really felt like, you know, the goal is 0. And he actually did a very good job of implementing this and having it as a goal.
Wow.
And you know, it was quite impressive. So it's very, very difficult. One thing too about the suicide by cop, it's where the very highest suicide rates for people here in the U.S. are white males.
Really?
Absolutely, yeah. It's about 20, and this is as of 2018. There's about 26 per 100,000 that kill themselves every year.
Really?
They also say that police officers and firemen.
Yes.
And,
Police officers is a huge here that we know of, because sometimes people are going to sort of cover it up and call it an accident or whatever, but especially if it's a single car wreck, think suicide, or at least investigate for that before you decide on anything else.
Really?
But with white males, like 26 per 100,000, Hispanic males about 9 per 100,000.
Okay.
And then the white women are down a lot lower than the men, but and in fact lower than black men too.
Okay.
And the black women are much lower than the men, the black men, and the Hispanic women are even lower. But it's surprising to me that there's also, unfortunately, we've found a lot of physicians that have killed themselves.
Really?
Yeah, and I've actually known a couple, and it's a devastating thing to have somebody that you studied with and went through all the horrors of training and things, and to know that they killed themselves, and the impact on the community, because it's not just their family, but it's all their patients and
Right.
Everybody in the community, and it's just horrible. But in looking at the shootings by police officers, it's about 1,000 a year, with anywhere from 100 to 300 of them being suicide by cop. Those shootings by police officers, half of them are white males, but the black males are way overrepresented. It's where there's about 25% that are black males, but the population overall is only 13%.
Right.
So it's like you're way overrepresented.
Right.
And so I'm thinking, that would up if you're able to count those as part of the suicide stats, that would up it some, but it wouldn't up it enough to make it anywhere near the white.
Right. Just to have the numbers.
Yeah.
Like Vanessa said, if there's a military background, even higher chances.
Oh, we lose a veteran. I think it's one a day at least, and to suicide, and it's just devastating. Because these are people that have really gone above and beyond in serving our country.
Sure.
And to lose them like that is just, it's such a damn shame.
If they protect us.
Yes. Yeah. It's really devastating.
What does they call it? A justifiable arson. Cop kills him.
Probably, yeah. They call it self-defense usually. And occasionally in police shootings, they actually do find that it's not a good shooting and do press charges. Now, that used to never happen.
Right.
But since 2014 with Michael Brown, there have actually been a few that the charges have been pressed, and they've been convicted. There was that weird case up in, I think it was in Dallas, wasn't it? With the officer that got home from work and
Oh, yeah,
thought it
yeah.
was her apartment, and instead it was the one floor below or
Yes.
above, and she killed the guy. He was sitting there on his couch eating ice cream.
No threat.
But I can explain that. I can. My mother's my witness. When this is literally before the news broke in terms of the details of that situation, I said, Mom, if that cop lives a floor above or below, this was before the news broke, that was the case.
Yeah.
She's going to beat it. And I said, the reason she's going to beat it is because If that is the case, how many times if you went to the wrong car and opened up tried to open the car door? How many times if all of the apartments are uniform in terms of how they look, then I could understand how that could happen. So the details came out that she had been working 15, 16 hours, something like that. What got her caught up was the door, the details.
Yes.
The Rangers investigated about the door, the
Yes.
doormat. She was on the phone, someone videoed her pacing back and forth, so they started trying to cover it up.
Yeah.
I really think she would have beat it if she had just stuck to the story and say, here's what happened.
Yes.
Because if she walks into her home and she sees a body move, a shadow, and you just finished working 15, 16 hours as a police officer, I can understand how that could happen. You got punished because you tried to cover it up.
Yes.
That was the issue.
Yeah, she did end up getting a sentence of, I think, around 10 years or so. I mean,
Right.
it was probably not high enough,
Sure.
but it was at least something.
Sure.
But I hate the inequities that are involved in our society. Sheila Jackson Lee, one of our local U.S. representatives, has been trying to get a bill through Congress repeatedly for years about reparations, about, how can we even things out for slavery? Because whether you were a Southerner or your ancestors were Southerners or Yankees, you profited from slavery. And it's where, all she wants is a study, because you can't figure out, would that be fair to figure out some way to work it out or not? And it's just a very complicated system.
Right.
But I think that would be a really fascinating. I mean, I'm hoping that she can eventually get the study done.
Right.
Because it's something that at first, as a white woman, I think, well, I don't know if any of my ancestors ever even owned a slave, although I did have some that fought on the Confederate side. But, I still profited by all the black laws and the Jim Crow stuff and
Right.
all the horrible things that took place even after the Civil War.
Sure.
It's where my family did not have the same sort of things to deal with that your families might have.
Right.
And so it's trying to figure out some way to, in South Africa, when the apartheid ended, they had the reconciliation hearings and stuff with trying to figure out how can we get our people talking to each other and seeing each other as humans and fellow South Africans instead of as enemies. And we're sort of in that spot now in the U.S. with some of the people that are claiming that the 2020 election was rigged. And it's like, I've been watching some of the hearings, and one of them, one of the representatives on the committee said that he had a friend who was of a different political persuasion, who he showed him the data, and he said, this happened, and this happened, and this happened, and this happened, and he agreed on each of it. That I believe that, but he said, but in my heart, I still know it was stolen. So it's.
I think I saw that.
Get rid of the facts my mind made up.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's exactly what they're doing. It's like one of those situations where people are literally like, on the one breath, you want to say, okay, it was Antifa who stormed Capitol. But then in the other breath, you want to say, oh, these patriots are being persecuted in jail, So which is it Antifa or are they patriots? It was no big deal, but, oh, you should punish these Antifa criminals.
And of course, there was no evidence of Antifa being involved at all.
Nobody's seen anything along those lines.
Yeah.
That was one of those where there's just no way he could have lost. There's just no way.
Yeah.
Did not see what he's trying to do? There was just no way. They
And-
could not think of it that they had no chance.
And he was saying all along that if I lose, it's because they stole it.
Right.
So are you expecting to lose?
Right.
And
You know?
if he was paying attention, he did. But it's come out now, thanks to this trial, that he knew. He knew he lost. He was just perpetuating the lie. You know, so
I have to be honest though. I have a different take on January 6th. I agree with everything you brought saying. I promise you I do. But I think there's a deeper argument that because we discussed this on a previous episode, because we talked about the riots. At the core, we have to preserve the right of the citizen to protest the government. We have to be careful how we deal with this January 6th issue. Because if the government gets too big and you begin to diminish the individual or group's ability to congregate and burn the Constitution or overthrow the government if the government has become tyrannical, then what you're doing is it's 1984. Now the government becomes more of almost like a cult of personality, if you will. That means like everything that the Constitution gave the man with no rights or little rights or no property or what have you has now been washed away. It's all in the hands of those that hold power. So now we're no better than the USSR.
well, what they did right around our borders just recently.
What
100-mile radius within the borders. Now Border Patrol can search your home, search your person, do all that without a warrant. They don't. The Supreme Court just ruled on this. I want to say it was like a week or two ago.
Wow.
So
I lived in Atlanta during the Olympics in '96, and I didn't know that in a 50-mile radius of the games, we were under martial law.
Whoa,
I didn't know that.
that's amazing.
Whenever the Olympics come to your town, at least stateside, suspension of all of your rights
for the Olympics.
for the Olympics. Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's crazy.
So I again, I think they stormed the Capitol for reasons they believe was true. But I will be the first to take a bullet to make sure that they have the right to do that. Because if you take away the ability of the American citizen to do that, you just set yourself up for a dictatorship.
Yeah. You've got to have the right to do it peacefully.
Sure, absolutely. Absolutely.
That's what I say. I agree, like you said. What you're doing, yes, that's what it says for us to do. But you're doing it under this flag. That flag is that man. You're not doing it under the state
Right,
flag.
right,
You're
Bo, right,
doing it-
right.
Now, if you go in there with American flags, each state flag, yeah, I'm with you. Let's get them out of here because they're doing something wrong. He's in there because of him. Other than that,
Right.
he wouldn't have done that. So, in other words, if he's not there, the government's no good. That's what you're saying. So, you know what? The government's no good all around, anyways. You know? It's like,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's for
Uh-oh. That's mine. So
Yeah. So I have a friend from AAFS, American Academy of Forensic Sciences, who's a really interesting forensic linguist from Spain. And I've stayed in touch with her some. You know, I'm hoping I'll see her at the next meeting. And her family had involvement in the Spanish Civil War, as most Spanish people did. And what was so, I think their Civil War was even worse than ours because it wasn't North and South or something readily identifiable. It was just all over there. You know, it was more, you know, the intellectuals and the regular people or the rich people and the poor people or the, you know, things that are a little right wing and a little, I mean, it was so disorganized
that's what we did.
that one of her grandfathers actually disappeared and was executed for sure, but they have no idea where the body is. And so it's where I saw enough of that it's where that's what I fear if the U.S. you know gets into that kind of situation that it would be just total chaos, and much worse than it was before. It's
the sad part is I really do think that's where we're headed.
I agree.
I try to stay optimistic, you know, but at the same time, I really, because every time you turn on the news, it's another thing and another thing and another thing. We're building up a blow up. You know, they talk about like the riots back in LA in the '60s and stuff like that. It's going to be those kind of situations just popping up all over the place. It'll be a whole other type of wildfire season.
Yeah.
Only thing this time around is going to be people of all colors against each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah,
Not
it's,
just gonna be black
you
and
know,
white,
you-
it's just gonna be both sides. We're gonna have black on that side of it, it's gonna have Hispanic on it. They're gonna be fighting.
Absolutely.
Tall, short,
Yeah.
straight.
Yeah.
Everything.
It's crazy because, and in the Spanish Civil War, there were several factions that were, you know, some of them would band together and sort of fight together, and others would split off, and it was so chaotic, and people were ending up killed, you know, just executed at the drop of a hat. You know, people just didn't like the way you looked or what you said the day before, and they'd line you up and shoot everybody.
If they do that in their position, you know, this we're gonna torture you and kill you.
But the power was centralized.
That's right. Plus, in Spain, they have the different states that exist. So some of them, they used to be kingdoms.
Yes.
They're all different kingdoms. So
Yeah.
they stuck. I guess they went back like, hey, we'll fight with you, and then we don't believe all that. So it's like now, I think Catalonia is trying to break from Spain, and because Spain makes too much money on that state that's not going to let them do it, so there could be some type of
Yes.
But you know,
unrest there.
now there's that talk about Texas again
Oh,
trying
God.
to secede.
Yeah.
It's like, come on, y'all. Y'all know the United States is not going to let that happen.
You know, that's what I.
Dr. O, you are more than welcome to come back again. Unfortunately, we are out of time, but we always give our guests because we can go forever.
And we got off topic about suicide.
No, you're fine. You're
But
fine.
I
That's,
think
that's the
we covered
pleasure
it
of sitting
some.
down talking with you. We always give our guests the last word. We want to appreciate you so much for taking the time, even not feeling to us, sitting with us and giving us an hour of your time. We're blessed by your presence. Any last parting words you want to give out?
I'm so glad to be here with you guys. I think y'all are doing a lot of good, and I think that you know, y'all's episode on suicide that I saw earlier this year was such a difficult episode for y'all. It was just, you know, a very, you know, emotional, difficult episode, and I thought, you know, what about suicide by cop? Because that's an issue too that unfortunately the deaths are overrepresented in the African American community.
I had never even heard that term until you said it. You know, so I said,
Oh, wow.
it started hitting me. That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, the jail, the term.
Yeah.
Killed me.
Yeah.
You know.
And there's also, and this was horrible, I trained in for doing psychological autopsies, and the woman who trained us had done a study on engineers and trained personnel who had people commit suicide by running in front of the train. And she had watched all those videos, and just, I don't know, the impact of, I don't know how she could have done it. It was, but the suicide by cop, it's devastating to the person, their family, their friends, their community, and probably just as much so the police officer themselves. It's really a difficult thing. So I do recommend people calling the suicide hotline if they need help. I knew y'all would. And, you know, please talk. The greatest strength is at being able to ask for help. And that's not easy to do, but asking for help it takes a lot more guts to do that than just sit there quietly. So thank you guys.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Doctor. Thank you. John, Los, y'all got anything y'all want to say, man, before we sign
I'll
out?
just say thank you for coming.
Really, I enjoyed the conversation. Glad you decided to come and join.
Reaching before these topics.
You are welcome anytime. You are welcome anytime. Anytime.
Look, and if the heat bothers you, just wait till the fall. Come back. It'll be a lot better.
Right?
Bring your coat.
Right. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But it's a lot easier to warm up than it is to cool off. Oh, man.
But thank you all so much for joining us today for Uncovering Suicide by Copper Psychiatric Inquiry with our guest, Dr. O. I'm Brother Ron.
Brother Los.
Brother Jam.
Brother Burke.
And Dr. O.
Yes.
We are the Daily Smoke, and we are out. Thank you for joining us.
Peace.
Peace.